Allie Borealis here. Welcome to my channel and thanks for subscribing. I made this video to go over some of the things I've sold in the past couple months. Most of it is jewelry, some of it is clothes, and then there's some odds and ends in there. So let's get to it. Now we're going to start with this MFA brooch, which MFA is Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And I really like selling museum jewelry, and I'll tell you why. It's because you can often match the piece that the jewelry was taken from, the piece of art that the jewelry was taken from. So when I do that, I like to include it in the listing. It does take a little bit of research and I don't always find the piece, but I really try because I just think it gives it an extra boost. So I went to the MFA website and just started searching their data banks with keywords like iris, and then this one popped up. And it says it's an etching called Dingy Flag Iris, plate number 669 by William Curtis, The Botanical Magazine, 1803. And I scrolled down to the bottom of the page and it says it was bequested to the MFA in 1969. I paid $56.13 for this brooch and I sold it for $95. I picked up these chunky Kenneth Lane crystal earrings, very large statement earrings, just beautiful, and they were in great condition. I bought them for $4.40 and sold them for $30. Now this Monet set I did an unboxing video on a while back. I won it in a shop Goodwill auction. And not all Monet retains its value, but some pieces do. And I knew from my research that this set called Demita not only retains its value, but it's also a book piece. It's from Alice Vega's Monet the Master Jewelers, page 186. So I knew I had two pieces and that it would probably sell well and that it was all in really good condition. The bracelet still had its safety chain and it just has held up well through the years. So I paid $69.83 for this set and I sold it for $169.99. I'm throwing some pottery in the mix. This style is Majolica, and Majolica can be really hot sellers right now. If you're not familiar with Majolica, just Google it and you'll get a flavor for what it looks like. It's really easy to identify once you get a feel for it. This piece is Czechoslovakian porcelain pottery by Eichwald. And I thought it was really unique just by the way this handle is curved around. So it was super delicate and I had to be careful in packaging it that handle didn't break off. It did have a very small chip to the porcelain, one of the corners of the glaze. Even with that, I still got a nice return on it. I picked this up at a Goodwill in Tucson, Arizona, and I paid $2.99 for it, and it sold for $50. I picked up this delicious Nolan Miller brooch at a thrift store in the Miami area. I'm a traveling healthcare worker, which is how I make it all over the country. And every time I'm in a new city, I have to scope out their thrift stores. So I got this beauty for $7.72 and I sold it for $55. The next three pieces of jewelry I'm going to be showing you are all St. John. St. John is a luxury brand, and the pieces are very well made. Their clothes are very well made. The jewelry is very well made, but they don't always hold their value like other luxury brands do. We'll start with the earrings. I believe I got these in Miami as well, in Hollywood, Florida, actually, at the same thrift shop that I got the Nolan Miller brooch. These are clip back, and I paid $5.89 for these, and I sold them for $20. I got the next two St. John brooches at the same place at the same time, and it was at a thrift store that was in my local area. This first one is a Maltese cross style brooch that also doubles as a pendant, and I paid $3.81 for this brooch, and I sold it for $31. The next piece I have is super unique, which is probably why it sold for a little bit more. It can be worn as a brooch as you see it, or the two pieces separate and you can wear the top one as a brooch and the bottom one as a pendant. Both pieces have the St. John maker's mark on them. And I paid $4.84 for this, and I sold it for $59.99. I found this Judith Ripka ring that's sterling, cubic zirconia, and amethyst. And Judith Ripka sells pretty well, and some of her stuff sells better than others. And when I saw this ring, I thought, oh, I bet I could get a higher dollar amount for this one because it's such a large kind of statement ring. So what I saw when I went to research this is that this is called a doublet ring. So I had to figure out what that meant because I had never heard that before. So it says a doublet is a composite gemstone consisting of two pieces of the same or different gem material, or one gem material and a second of glass, usually cemented together at the girdle. And it looks like they also have something called a triplet ring. So I gather this is a way to have the ring be more cost effective, is to wedge it together with a less expensive material that still has the stone look pretty. So I paid $49.61 for this ring, and I sold it for $120. I found this Sarah Coventry watch at a thrift store also in the Miami area, and I don't usually buy Sarah Coventry from thrift stores because it doesn't always have a high resale value. And of course, there are always exceptions to things. And this was one of them. You know, if it's a nice set or something, I might pick it up, but just individual pieces, not so much. So this particular watch was new in the box. It had never been worn. It still had the plastic around it. Even the watch little winder had the little piece of plastic that holds it in place. It had the pamphlet with it. It even had a bonus lipstick case. So I figured it would have a decent resale value. So I picked up this watch for $2 and I sold it for $30.99. In the same store where I got the Sarah Coventry watch, I found this Towle sterling silver mirror that had the original box with the original sterling pouch, and it still had the sticker on it, so it had never been used. The sticker was right on the front of the mirror, and it had a really nice Art Deco design on it. And I picked it up. It was only $2, and I sold it for $36. The next one I have is a real stunner, and it's so special when I can find pieces like this. Now, this is a crown Trifari brooch, and you know, I know a lot of you who watch my videos know a lot about jewelry, and some people are still learning. So I just wanted to explain the company's name is Trifari, and if it has a little crown mark above the T, we call it a crown Trifari, even though crown is not technically part of the company name. The crown part dates the piece, because maker's marks change over time for jewelry. So we can date it. If it's got this particular crown mark over it, it is some of their earlier pieces. So I paid $58.56 for this beautiful brooch, and I sold it for $150. Now this is an interesting chatelaine style Egyptian themed brooch with a C clasp. So there were two periods in recent history where Egyptian revival jewelry was popular and was being manufactured. The first period was in the 1920s with the discovery of King Tut's tomb. And the second period was in the 1970s when the tomb went on tour. From that, and given that it has a C clasp and it's chatelaine style, which is a vintage style, and the C clasp is vintage style, I would say that this one is from the 1920s. I paid $1 for this in Miami, and I sold it for $40. I ended up getting these 3 sweaters in a bundle with a bunch of other things. 2 of them are Eddie Bauer, and one is the Eagle's Eye. They're all handmade, all wool, and all from 1989. These ended up being super fast sellers over the holidays. So when it was all said and done, I paid, I believe, 89 cents per sweater because I bought them in a big bundle with a bunch of other stuff. One of them sold for $38. The other 2 each sold for $39.99. I found this beautiful Regency brooch with Navette stones. It has really chocolatey stones and then some AB stones layered in there as well. I bought it at a vintage store, so I paid a little bit more for it, but sometimes in those vintage stores, I can pick out pieces that I know, even though they're priced a little bit higher, are going to still bring in a decent profit. So this was one of those. So I paid $38.51 for this brooch, and I sold it for $75.99. So this ring came out of a large box that I've talked about before, that I pulled a lot of stuff out. There was a Louis Vuitton bracelet in there that I had authenticated. There was a pair of 14 karat diamondique earrings in there. There was a pair of garnet and sterling earrings. There were a lot of costume rings, including this one. And it wasn't gold and it wasn't sterling. And at first I didn't really quite know what to make of it. But I'm really the researcher when it comes to jewelry because I don't want to pass anything up. So I looked at the mark inside of it, and then I realized at some point that it said Mexico. So I started researching it, and this ring turns out to be a 1940s biker ring from Mexico. And they have a great resale value. I paid $96.90 for that whole box. Prior to this ring selling, I had sold $619.99 worth. And this ring sold for $149.50, bringing my grand total on the box to $769.49. The last piece I want to show you is this exquisite Kenneth Lane Egyptian Revival necklace. I had talked about Egyptian Revival, and this would be a 1970s piece, not a 1920s piece, obviously. It's Kenneth Lane. This piece is new with tag, which means it has probably never been worn. I paid a little bit more for this piece, but it still had a decent resale value. I paid $85.39 for this piece, and I sold it for $135. Thanks for joining me today. If you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button. It's free.